Yeah, it's the proper collagen hot chocolate style. So it's where it's at.
Yeah, I know. They taste so good. I wish I was there.
This is so classic me. It's like come onto someone else's podcast and interviews you. So so did you have any kind of intro into it, or did you want me to kind of just take off with talking about the whole week and giving that little bit of a preface?
Yeah, I think I'll just give a bit of a background behind it. So essentially, and this is something I was actually saying to Josh on one of the walk/runs we did. I think it was like must have been the last one we started at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. And basically, I saw a friend of mine share a snippet of David Goggins on Facebook, which it was off that Fearless Motivation clip that I sent you guys, and we watched it together. So it was a short snippet of that, and I went, oh, that's something I should send to you guys to take a look at. So I went to YouTube, found the link, sent it to you guys, then I went to yours that night. We all watched it together, and then Josh was like, we should do that. And I was like, hell yeah, that'd be cool. Then we came up with the idea, and a week and a half later, we're actually doing it. So if it wasn't for that friend of mine sharing that on Facebook, this would probably never have even happened. And it was cool to think of that in the moment on our very last walk/run at 5 a.m. going like, we're here because of someone, like I logged into Facebook at that time and saw him share it and stuff. So, and then I guess the general gist of what we did across the space of the Hell Week, which most people would have seen if you logged on to the live and stuff. And I know Billy's just joined, so he's probably going to, talk shit or whatever, but
probably request to come on live.
Basically the general rundown of the Hell Week was we wanted to do the David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge within that, which is 4 miles every 4 hours, 48 hours. So basically that's like 6.4 kilometers. We ended up running a little bit further than that. On most of them, they were probably close to 6.6, if not further. So I think all in all, we did over 2 marathons of actual running, more so walking towards the end because we were so cooked. But that was, I guess, the bulk of what we did. And then in between then we were doing log carries and, sitting in the water, doing little circuits of push-ups, crunches, pull-ups, those sort of things. So that's just the general basis of what our Hell Week was for those that don't know what we did.
Just to back it up there a little bit, Tom, for people who are watching or listening later, I just thought it would be interesting that you said Hell Week, because I feel like there was a week of hell before Hell Weekend. So the moment that you decided this task, like you said, there was that moment of, okay, it was very random, and like, you hit that point of motivation or inspiration that your friend had shared something, and then you put like a bunch of 4 of us together and we masterminded and came up with this idea and really turned it from words into action. And then I remember watching you and Josh throughout the week and observing the multitude of emotions that went through. I feel like you were more honest with, or probably had a lot more reservation about it. Whereas I feel like, Josh was like, nah, like we're doing it. Whereas I feel like if I said, nah, like let's not, you'd be like, okay, cool. Done out. And would you like to talk about that process of the moment of decision and what actually went through your mind and your body and all of that?
Yeah. So similar to other sort of ultra endurance events that I've done in the past, to begin with, I'm all in. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. This is going to be a walk in the park. Like, I'm all excited. And then you start to rationalize things and you start to go, all right, how is this logistically going to work out? Am I going to get injured? Can I actually finish? And you start to, the questions start to come. And that's where most people will quit. That's where most people will say they're going to do it and they don't. But I'm someone, if I say it, I'm doing it. And that's why Josh said, let's post it on social media like the next day to say that we're doing it, because then we've got people to hold us accountable. And if we didn't do it, they'd be like, oh, so when are you doing that Hell Week thing that you were talking about, Right. So that's the day after I started to, especially when we went down to the beach and went for a walk, and I was just thinking like, far out, this is going to be one hell of a challenge. And there were some times, sort of probably a week out, where I was getting a little bit nervous, thinking like, how am I even going to do this? But to be honest, closer to the day, I think I got more confident. I don't know if it actually was confidence. I think it was nerves that I was choosing to view as excitement and confidence. But because I was so excited, I just wanted to get out there and do it. And I knew from the get-go that I was going to be able to do it, excluding injuries that would prevent me. And I feel like I could do anything excluding an injury that would physically prevent me from doing something. Like, I honestly feel like, if someone said to me, it's like in 3 minutes start a triathlon, like an Ironman or something like that, if I had all the gear, I'm sure I'd be able to do it. It would be very slow, but I'd back myself in to be able to do it mentally, because I know I can push through. And that's what I mean, like, excluding an injury that's physically going to stop me from actually doing it, I feel like I can do anything. So the closer I got, the more confident and more excited I got, which for a lot of people, it probably goes the other way. They're all excited at the start, and they get closer and they start to doubt themselves more. But for me, I just wanted to get out there and do it. And I was excited.
And like, knowing you a little bit more, as we've all gotten to know you over time, someone who likes having a plan and having a structure. And I know that I hid the schedule from you, but do you think that having a lack of schedule was in a way better in hindsight? Or would you, do you think you would have responded differently if at the beginning of the week you had a set out plan of what it was all going to be about? How do you think you would prepare mentally for that?
I think I like to know what I'm going to be doing so that I can mentally prepare for it. I know others are probably in a different situation where, they just want to kind of be thrust into the situation, and to an extent, that works as well. But for me, it's like, I want to hear the bad news kind of thing. I want to know what it is so I can find a way to adapt and pivot on the spot and go like, all right, I know this is going to be shit, but like, I know I can do it. Versus, so say for example, what we had written down on the schedule, the 3 hours of sitting in the water, which we didn't end up doing because we will literally get hypothermia and die. But something like that, I would much rather know beforehand so that I can go, actually, let me do my research on this to see if I'm actually going to die, or whether is this actually possible? And then to actually know in my brain, okay, this is going to happen at this time. I need to figure out a mental state in which I can go into to go through that. Whereas if you said in the moment you're going to sit in the water for 3 hours, I'd be like, no, I'm not, kind of thing. So for me, I would rather know it in the moment so that I can mentally prepare, regardless of how easy or difficult it is. I would much rather know what it is. But at the same time, the spontaneity of you guys saying, get down and give me 10 burpees, or, jump in the water and then finish your run and stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff too, to sort of break it up. And it is the more unexpected element of it, but it's not as severe in its consequence. But I think that stuff was really good. I wouldn't want that stuff to necessarily be planned. I like the spontaneity of that sort of stuff. But in terms of the actual structure of things, I'm someone that would perform better knowing what is going to come.
And I guess that's really the whole opposite of the intention of Hell Week, is that you get told, and it's the lack of control. And it's the lack of control through, you not being the one telling them what to do, but then also through being like extremely tired, extremely like physically, mentally, emotionally tired, which is like, it's a really interesting thing. But I know that because Sarah and I, aren't trained trainers or anything like that, that there's that element of wanting to know or looking into things, and that's totally fine. But I also have, I got an email today, which I'll share with you, with some more things.
Oh, I think you might have dropped out.
We good?
There we go, you're back.
Just with some more things that we could include into the Hell weekends that we do moving forward, which I think you and Josh will really like. So that's cool. And it's things that you probably will not think of, like it won't even cross your mind. I'm like, oh damn, that would have been so cool. So I'd actually be almost interested in doing it again with you and Josh doing it with Sarah and I putting together a schedule, or like I'm happy to put through.
So you want us to go through it again?
Yeah, I actually would love for you to go through the Hell Weekend again, but it's going to be a differently structured thing of, and I think, it's really important to practice what you preach. You need to practice things enough times to know all of the emotions that your potential clients and people coming on this weekend or this course.
That'll be rough.
Yeah. But we'll talk to Josh and we'll see what he says, but also I've got a date in mind. No, I'm kidding. But also next weekend.
Yeah, well, I think even what we're speaking about just before in regards to the certainty behind the structure, I think the thing that got me through towards the end was knowing every 4 hours we were going on a 4-mile run. And that was something to look forward to, look at my watch and go, all right, we've got an hour and a half, we might be doing a little circuit with the push-ups and crunches and just be going, this is shit, I'm hating it, but in an hour and a half, I get to go on a run. And that was probably, to be honest, the hardest part of everything was because we were so broken, we were so sore. It was literally taking us like towards the back end, almost 2 hours to go 6.4 kilometers. That was really, really difficult to complete, but mentally that was relief because we just know, okay, now it's just one foot in front of the other. We know what's coming next. It's, sand, it's another step in front of us. Whereas when it's, in between there, we've got 2 hours of you guys just giving us random shit. It's kind of, time doesn't go as quickly. You look at your watch and be like, man, 15 minutes is gone. Whereas if you're on your walk, time actually went pretty quickly despite that being the most painful part. And it was something to look forward to, again, despite being the most painful part. Yeah,
I love how you worded that. And like that just made me think of the very beginning of like starting on the Friday, getting down to the beach. And I remember looking at the clock and it was 15 minutes in thinking, holy shit, I don't know what we have all got ourselves into. So I would love to know what was going through your mind as we transitioned from the week to like, it's 9 o'clock and we're starting now and we're in it.
Yeah, I love that. Just the starting gun, basically. Like, I'm just of the mentality that, to put it simply, let's fucking do this shit, essentially. And, I love that part of when I've done the marathon and they, the gun goes off or the whistle, to be honest, I can't even remember what they did. I think it was literally just go kind of thing. But I love that moment of transition to like you're waiting and then it's like you're into it. And it's just, for me, it's a mindset switch. It's like, all right, game time kind of thing. And I just stay in that state and try and keep myself in that state for as long as I possibly can. So for me, the first few hours actually went really, really quickly because all I was just focusing on was just the tunnel vision of, what's my task? What am I doing? Block out everything else. Don't look at the watch and go, shit, only 15 minutes have gone by. I've still got, 47 hours and 45 minutes. It was just, what's the next thing? Let's get over that hurdle, get over the next hurdle. To be honest, I think the hardest part was like getting to the 12-hour point and going, holy shit, we've done all this much and it's only a quarter of the way there. And then getting halfway as well and going, holy shit, we're only halfway there. Those were the hardest parts because that's when I was looking at my watch going like, I took myself out of that state, that game time state of going, let's do this. I was like out of it and going, okay, this is actually going to be quite difficult. But I think it's, as soon as it came round for 9 o'clock and Josh and I just started running, I was just like, this is it. We're in it. No backing out now.
And so for mindset, I know that that's something easier for you to step into, right? Like, and I know separately mindset and physiology can be really like focused in on, and you work so much with trying to mesh the two. But do you remember the point where maybe there was that moment of like such physical intensity that it overrode your mindset staying strong, and then vice versa, like your mindset strong and then your body just feeling so weak and depleted, and like how that interplay really affected you over the coming week, or the last weekend, not the coming weekend?
Yeah, I think mindset wise, I was strong throughout. There wasn't really a point where I doubted if I would be able to complete it or do it, other than when we were in the water and I was literally shaking and shivering after 2 minutes. I was thinking, if we have to do this multiple times for long periods at a time, I'm going to struggle. But other than that, I just kept saying to myself, as painful as it was, my thing that I came up with on the spot was, like, fuck yeah, was the thing I just kept saying to myself. So whenever you guys would be like, get down, give us 10 burpees just after we come out of the water and thrown sand on our face and things like that, I'd say to myself, fuck yeah. Like, that was the thing that sort of got the juices flowing in that. I was just like, I love this shit. And I would just tell myself that, even if it wasn't necessarily true, I'd tell myself that, or I'd sing songs to myself. Like, I was walking around like high-fiving the bushes like they were fans and stuff like that, as you saw. And like, I kept walking around going like that, basically going just, like, bring it on, give me all you've got kind of thing. So just playing the false bravado, the false ego, even though it wasn't really there, just pretty much acting like a big dog and acting like, nothing can hurt me, was the part of the mindset that really got me through. Even when the body was breaking down, I was just like, I just kept saying to Josh, no one's out here doing this shit, bro. Like, we've got this. We are the kings. We are the greatest. Like, no one else is out here doing this. We are the people doing it. We're making shit happen. So as soon as I got into that mindset, it was like, there was just so much certainty that we were going to do it with ease. To be honest, at the start, Josh was the one that was saying most of that within the first few hours, and I was kind of a bit more receptive to it. I found at the start I was kind of more like thriving off his energy, just because I didn't really know how to act. But towards the back end, that's when especially once we started getting close, I started to get really pumped. I was like, yeah, we're doing this shit. We're making this happen. So I always find at the start, I kind of like to just like kind of scope my surroundings and scope the vibe out a little bit, just be receptive to everything to start. And then once I kind of get into that groove and find what is actually going to work for me, what state will work, then I just go all in on that state particularly.
Yeah, I love that you have the insight to be able to observe yourself in that moment, because it's like, it was cool to observe you mimic Josh in certain areas, but it wasn't like you were trying to be him. But it's, I think something about Josh and his approach is like, has that inner calmness, or he doesn't have to say a lot, and he doesn't have to be loud, but it's like showing how that can be that leadership quality, and then seeing how that did transfer over to you. And it's like, there doesn't always have to be that fuck yeah moment, or fuck yeah, it's like actually just getting in your zone, or being quiet, or whatever it is. So was there points though when you weren't in the like fuck yeah state, that you were just like, life is shit? Like, did you go into any of those states, and did you give that pain a voice, even if you didn't verbalize it to us?
I think there were plenty of times where I was in a lot of physical pain. Like, there were points where, I was cramping quite badly and just struggling in that regard. There were times where, like, it was just so damn painful to walk on, just because of my knees, my hips, and even today I'm still in quite a lot of pain. But like, and the arch of my foot and stuff, it was just constant agony. But at the same time, I know that I can get through that, and I know I've been through that in the past. So that wasn't so much of an issue. The only thing that ever concerns me is injury, and I always just worry about doing something serious. But in the spirit of the moment, I'm just kind of like, oh, fuck it. If I tear an ACL, I tear an ACL, like, it's worth it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to do that. So I think that's kind of, the thoughts that come to mind. But at the same time, I was just always so confident that we could get it done. And even, just the self-talk I found it to be quite bigger than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
There were definitely times where I went into more of a state where, the pain was talking to me a lot more, and I wasn't as I would say I wasn't as pumped up when I was saying like the fuck yeahs or like high fiving the imaginary crowd, walking around like I was rapping and stuff like that. But there were times where I just needed to. I think I needed that voice to be there, and I needed to sort of dance with it a little bit rather than trying to override it through false bravado. I kind of needed to go to that place and just dance with it and just be like, you know what, you're here. I feel your presence. I'll let you be there, but you're not going to win the day. And there were times where I just wouldn't speak much. Like there were walks where Josh and I would literally, in an hour and a half, we'd probably speak 2 or 3 times because I think we both just needed to go so internally and just tunnel vision ourselves and just focus on the next step, focus on our pain, but focus in a way that isn't going to let it override ourselves. So there were definitely times where I was complaining about, Josh would be like, oh, fuck, like the shape in my balls. And I'd be like, man, the arch of my foot's killing me and just things like that. And even the tiredness, like those 5 a.m. walks were by far the hardest because we were both trying to stay awake while we were walking. It was so close to just literally, we both sat down at one point and nodded off for a few seconds, then said, all right, we've got to keep walking, otherwise we will fall asleep here. So I think they were definitely the hardest parts in that aspect. But to answer your question, there were times where I did need to give my pain a voice, I think. But there were other times where, as soon as I felt myself start to come out of that state and have a little bit more energy, that's when I got back into the I'm going to ride this shit now. I'm going to really go hard on the high energy states and try and just obliterate it altogether.
And your incentives, like something that you did voice was like you both really looked forward to the meals that were coming. And I don't know if that is something that kind of propelled you through each of your little stages of 6-hour bursts or whatnot. Yeah,
definitely. I think having something to look forward to was crucial. Like even I mentioned, having the next run to go on as something to look forward to, because it's the certainty. Like I knew that was the most painful thing, but I knew how it was going to feel. So despite the fact that it was the most painful part, it was something to look forward to. Every 4 hours, I knew that we were going to be doing another 6.4 kilometers or 4 miles. So and even looking forward to, for example, like I kept saying to Josh, bro, like how good's the warm shower after this going to feel? Or, how good's the sleep going to be? And being able to hug you guys afterwards and just go and grab a coffee and just chill. Those were the things that we were looking forward to the most by far. So I think having something to look forward to sort of take you out of the present was that's something I had to do to get through.
I think there's also that other side of me that feels like why I want you guys to do it again is because of the feminine energy that was brought into it. And while I feel like we did a fairly okay job at the beginning of it, there was definitely, I know there was a lax on the harshness, and then also a lax on being able to step into that control figure and taking that away from you. And because you're saying, the consistency and knowing what you were getting out of the run, it's like that's making me think like we didn't make it hard enough for you, because sleep is going to be sleep deprivation in whatever it is for 48 hours, hard in any situation. But giving you moments that you knew when things were coming probably actually made it easier in a sense, like you said, of like being able to mentally prepare, okay, for this 6.4k run I'm going to be doing this. I'm not saying like physically easy, but also just kind of when you don't even get to grab onto any of that certainty, I would really be curious to see how you both respond. But then as well, like I was saying, like the feminine energy too, of like all we wanted to do was just like hug you guys. And while we could step into a masculine energy, it was like you just kind of know how the other one's feeling. And it's like, I think for me personally, that I'd probably need that like separation from it. I'm not sure about you, but
It's a good point you make actually, because we were doing the maths in our head and basically going, all right, we've got to run this time, we've got a meal at this time, we can do this at this time, and like we started to chunk it down and make it easier for ourselves in that sense. You know, like I said, the walks and the runs were the hardest parts by far.
Yeah.
But because we knew we could mentally prepare for them, they became easier. Like physically, they were the most challenging. Like the little circuits we were doing with the pull-ups, the push-ups, you know, the crunches and all that stuff. Like physically, that wasn't as hard, but mentally, it was probably harder. It's just because it was the repetitive motion over and over and over again, and just the boredom of it was actually quite difficult.
Yeah.
But like I said, physically the walks and the runs were the hardest, but we could mentally prepare because we knew what the pain was going to be like. We'd just done 4 hours previously.
Yeah.
And we, like I said, we could chunk it down and be like, all right, we got, you know, we've only got 3 left, bro. Like, you know, 3 more walks left and then we're completely done. So I think if it was 48 hours of just complete randomness, that would be a lot harder mentally, because you're like, you don't know what's next. You don't know when you're finishing this current task. You can't go, all right, you know, 20 minutes left. Let's just dig deep for 20 minutes and then we'll get a rest or something.
Yeah.
It's yeah, that'd be quite interesting. But yeah, let's give it a few months before we do another one, please.
For sure. So in New Zealand.
Yeah, that might be a little bit too cold.
Bit too much. Yeah, and so like another point that you were bringing up there with observing Josh or being with Josh, I know that you two get along super well, and teamwork was something that was a big point that was made in a lot of the videos that were watched and, you know, even spoken about throughout the week. So I'm curious whether you'd like to do it with a bigger group of people, or whether you found that setting with 2 people that work quite well together was a good situation. Just for like the viewers and the listeners, if they're thinking about doing this, we're probably going to have bigger groups of people, but you may not like everyone. Not everybody's going to have that same energy, and some people aren't going to be as good in one area as the other. So I'm curious about what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed doing it with Josh one-on-one because, you know, I love him for who he is and that kind of thing. So it helped us to build a stronger bond together. So that was a really awesome thing to be able to do that with him, just one-on-one. Having said that, I feel like it would be much easier in a big group because you've got the energy of the group. You've got, you know, especially if you're with a group of a whole heap of alpha males or something like that, you're all just charging together, you know, come on boys, we got this shit, you know, everyone's, you know, charging for one. So I think that would definitely be easier because you've got that group mentality. It's like no one's, you know, letting each other down, everyone's helping each other out, we're all in this together. It's probably harder when you're with one-on-one because if one person lacks, then the other's going to lack. Or, you know, if one guy goes, oh, you know, bro, should we quit or whatever, the other one's more inclined to do that. Whereas if you're in a group and one person says it, all of a sudden you're the outcast and they're not letting you do that. So not that happened between Josh and I, but like I think in a bigger group environment, it would be a lot easier because you've got more people to thrive off. We've really, really had to create our own energy and create our own accountability with each other to make sure that we didn't just say, oh, bro, you know, stuff it, let's go home kind of thing. Like we had to say, no, we're doing this, and be really strict on that, which I think was cool. And it's definitely built a stronger relationship and a stronger bond between Josh and I, which I'm very grateful for. But also the same with you and Sarah as well. Like I think just having the small group of the 4 of us was really awesome for all of us to get closer. But yeah, with the group, it would also be a pretty cool thing to do it with, you know, maybe 20 other guys, everyone shouting and marching and, you know, just really displaying that masculine energy would be pretty cool.
It would be awesome. I think that might kind of be how I'd like to structure it moving forward. I'd love to be a part of the process and like filming and documenting, but not actually having a part in the exchange of energy in a way. I found it maybe it's that personal connection with both you and Yosh too, of like, oh, it's weird. But sorry, I'm just eating dinner. So what I wanted to point to as well was you came into this with no training, like mentally, yeah, like all of the personal development stuff, but like physically, I know you're fit and you're well and all of that kind of stuff, but you mentioned that this is the kind of thing that people train for like 18 months for, or like they train for this, they prepare themselves for this. Like, what do you think with your background, like with both you and Josh, of like really, really solid in a personal development mindset game, and some level of physical fitness, but for other people who are coming in with various levels of backgrounds, like what would be a prerequisite for people even thinking about coming on something like this with you guys?
Yeah, it's a good point you make, actually, and that's one of the reasons that I think it would be a good challenge for a lot of people, and that's why I want to have a bell for people to ring for the next one where they can quit, because there's a lot of people, like Josh and I knew we were going to do it. We had, beyond shadow of a doubt, knew that we could do it. And, at this point in time, I don't think that if I was to go through a Navy SEAL Hell Week, I don't think I could do it, but I know 100% if I was to train for it and condition myself for it, that I could do it. Yeah. So I have that certainty because of the work I've done in the physical space and in the personal development space. But for someone that's done none of that and they were to do something like this, I really, really think they would struggle because they don't have the certainty. And to be honest, I think that's the whole point of it, is that, you can do the work, you can go and do the physical training, and you can do the personal development stuff. And if you do, then you will be able to complete it. But there's plenty of people out there that just, talk a big game and don't want to put in the work. This is where something like the Hell Weekend is awesome, because I want to break those people. Like, as mean as it sounds, I want to show you guys that you're not as tough as what you think you are. And I want to see you ring that bell, not for my own personal gratification of like, ha ha, like I broke you, more so you can, introspectively see in yourself and be like, okay, I'm not actually as tough as what I thought I was, in an environment where you're not really being judged for quitting to an extent, because it is fucking hard. Yeah. Learn from that experience, go away and realize what you need to do to actually become stronger. So I wouldn't say there's prerequisites, because I want everyone, or anyone and everyone, to do this, because I want people to see where their breaking point is at. And if your breaking point is very early on, then you seriously have some work to do. But like I said, for me, I knew I was going to do it beyond shadow of a doubt. There was no question that it was going to be completed, excluding serious injury or anything like that. So prerequisite wise, if you do want to prepare for it, just read books on personal development. Training wise, it's hard to train for, to be honest. You probably need to just do a mix of weights and cardio, and do a lot of it to condition your body. But at the same time, I wouldn't say there's any necessary prerequisites. I just think, if you have an ego that needs kicking to the curb, then that's probably the biggest prerequisite.
It's interesting that you say like bringing people in to show them that they're not tough, because like I think of it on that contrasting side, playing the devil's advocate in a way of the people that don't think they could do something like that, showing them how tough they actually are. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
100%.
Yeah. And I love that.
I think I look at it from the standpoint of, especially working in the industry I'm in, I see a lot of big dudes that talk a big game, and, they're very good at what they do. They're very good at taking stories. They're very good at building big muscles, but can they run around a block? Can they actually go 48 hours without sleep? Can they do all of these things that, are actually tough? Like, just because you got big muscles doesn't mean you're tough necessarily. I know that's very much a, subjective way of looking at it, but at the same time, I'd love for those people that are all macho and, act like they can do anything to put them through this, and then say like, all right, let's see how mentally tough you actually are. You might have big muscles and you might be able to squat and bench a shitload of weight, but can you actually push your mind to places it's never been?
I feel like you have a few people in mind, Tom, that you want to put this out to.
More stereotypes, to be honest. I don't actually have anyone particularly in mind, but just, I'm stereotyping a lot. Not everyone's on steroids and all that shit, but like, I'm just talking about, stereotypical industries and stuff that I'm in. It's just, I know there's a lot of sort of fakers and people out there that just sort of, just post the highlight reel kind of stuff on Instagram and that sort of stuff. And I'd love to just, bring these people back to reality and say, like, you talk a good game, you show your highlights, you post your highlights, but, let's post a real highlight of you actually finishing this shit and proving to yourself how mentally tough you actually are. Or on the contrary, tapping out at the first hour and then be like, okay, I actually have some work to do. I've got to stop just pretending my life is a highlight reel and actually get down and dirty and do the work.
And like, speaking of highlights, like something that I thought about this, and like when I've thought about really big accomplishments in my life, getting through it, it's like you get to the end and you realize that the end wasn't the highlight, it was everything in between. And I just would love to know what went through your mind finishing it, whether it felt just like, okay, like I'm done now, and where your mind went back to from completing it, whether it went back to like the Friday that we started, or whether it was like, oh yeah, we get to get coffee and hang out. Like, what was the actual highlight for you?
Yeah, I think I felt a lot better at the end than I have in previous events. So to put it in perspective, after I'd done a marathon in 2019 and then last year doing the Jacob's Ladder on New Year's Eve, after both of those, I was just like, I actually felt down and I was kind of like, what's next? But for both of those, the highlight for me was actually in training, preparing for that, visualizing the day I actually completed. For this one, the highlight definitely was finishing, just because it was such a long, grueling event, just at the end being able to sit down and have a cookie and a coffee with you guys and just being able to, hug you guys and embrace you all and just be like, it's finished kind of thing was just amazing. But looking back on it, I really, really enjoyed the long, cold, painful walks on the beach with Josh at like, so we had some starting at 9 p.m., 1 p.m., 5 a.m. No, sorry, 1 a.m., 5 a.m. I really, really enjoyed those, as hard as they were and as much as they sucked in the moment. There was just something about the fact that it was just the two of us. We were barely even talking to each other. We had, 2 or 3 hoodies on. We were freezing. We were in so much pain, but it was just one foot in front of the other. And it was just like, because that was the hardest point, that's the part I took the most growth from, and that's the part where I proved to myself that I know I can do anything. So I think that's the highlight more so than the other stuff. And I look back at that with a lot of fondness and just, I'm just like, that was fucking hard. We were the only people out there doing that shit at that time. So I think that's kind of inspiring in a sense as well, to look back and be like, yeah, we're the only people doing that shit at that time. No one else in the world is doing that, or at least, that we know of. And if they are, give us a shout out because I want to beat you kind of thing. So, yeah, I think it was just inspiring. And yeah, in that moment, that was what I'd say was the highlight.
Yeah, and because you'd expressed in that time as well, like it was that chance to really go internal. And I know that you love doing the work yourself, but also like having that opportunity to go, okay, like what is going to get me through this? And, whether that's through what you're visualizing or what you're telling yourself, it's like that chance to switch from, I can speak to my pain, or I can speak that voice, or I can actually go, hey, like in this chance, it's like walking towards whatever your future is. And, like that is really cool in itself. And I know that it would have been hard with your body just feeling physically almost incapable at times. So yeah, it's just, yeah, like how don't be violent, Tom, yeah, just reading a comment there.
We'll have to give Bill a shout out. Bill's just trying to put me off my game and make me smile. So yeah, thanks, Bill.
We'll see you at the next Hell Weekend, Bill.
Yeah, Bill's doing it.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll sign you up. And so in terms of like the whole process moving out after that, like in sleep, your body being super sleep deprived, getting those little bits of kip during when you ate, how did you actually just speak to the process afterwards of the day of like after we went and got a coffee and a cookie, and whether you felt like sleeping, how your body has recovered since, and where you're at currently, being, what is it, 2 days later?
Yeah, so I didn't actually want to go to sleep straight away. And I think that was because my circadian rhythm kicked in because we finished in the morning. So I was so tired during the night. As soon as the sun came up, I was pumped. We've just finished. It's done. It's the relief. And we went and got coffee and cookies, for the metaphorical cookie jar and shit like that. So that was really, really cool. I just wanted to stay up and celebrate, but I knew that my body wanted sleep. But even still, we only got a couple of hours sleep. And then we got up again and went and got some more food. I think for me, I just wanted to get as much food in as I can. I was super, super hungry, just wanted high calorie foods.
Yeah.
And then even that night, we didn't go to bed till late anyway. So I didn't think I was actually that tired necessarily. I'm feeling it now though, to be honest. I think after last night, I didn't get home until probably around 9 o'clock. And then by the time I sort of got my shit together, I didn't get to sleep until maybe close to 10, and then I had a client really early this morning. So when my alarm went off this morning, I felt dead. And even earlier this afternoon, I had a nap for about maybe 45 minutes, and since then I've just been super sleep deprived. So I know I'm going to have a good sleep tonight, but again, I've got an early client tomorrow, so I'm literally probably going to be in bed in the next half an hour to 45 minutes. But yeah, I think my body's feeling it now. I think it wasn't as bad during the weekend, other than like 4 or 5 a.m. That's when it really hit me both days.
Yeah.
Up until about 2 a.m. it wasn't too bad. It was more like that really early morning after being up all night. That's when it really hit me. But as soon as the sun came up again, I felt fine. Like I remember saying to, I think it was either you or Josh on the second day, like I feel amazing. And that was about 10 a.m. after having maybe 20 minutes of sleep in that little nap we had. So yeah, it was interesting to see how the circadian rhythm and how that came into play when the sun came up. As soon as you get sunlight in your skin again and sunlight in your eyes, you really, really wake up. So just proves to you how important it actually is to get sunlight on the day-to-day as well. For people that are sleep deprived, go for a walk in the sun and you'll notice that you wake up a lot more. So sleep's been interesting since then, but I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of REM and deep sleep tonight, but I'm not wearing my Whoop anymore, so I won't actually know how much I'm getting. But yeah, I know that it's probably, I felt worse the last few days after. Yeah, it was probably the instant lack of sleep wasn't as bad as what it is 2 days later.
Yeah, it's almost like that the false confidence isn't, in a way, isn't it, of like, it's all good, and you're like, okay, my body is actually like, because your body is essentially like, when you're sleep deprived, it also shows that there's similar linkings to when people have had like lots of alcohol and stuff like that. So it's almost like that detox process
I felt hungover.
Yeah, totally.
Like genuinely felt the exact same as a hangover.
Yeah, gross. But at the same time, it's like, it'd be so interesting to look at what the body processes are actually doing in that time. Because there's that side of, being awake with the circadian rhythm and like the natural sunlight and nighttime. There's that health element to it. But then when you're not sleeping and things aren't metabolizing, surely that gets to a point where it's not good. So yeah, it'll be curious to check in with you to see how the rest of your week goes when your body feels like it's caught up with like that deep restorative sleep, because then your body will start healing and then you'll start feeling less sore in the hips and other areas.
Yeah, I'm not doing any exercise this week. I've told myself that, and even I've got clients early every morning this week except for Saturday, so I think Saturday I might even try and sleep in a bit, but I've still got some clients early-ish Saturday, and I want to get to the farmers market too, so I'll probably have to be up early again, so I don't know, maybe we can sleep in on Sunday or something like that.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, Sunday chills. I think I might have some podcast recordings, but I'll have to check in with that, which will be cool. And I'll
sleep in then.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have any other messages that you wanted to give to people who are thinking about this, who have thought about this, who have done this, or just a general message to the people who watch or listen?
Yeah, I think the reason I do this shit is to strengthen my mind. So
Mm.
for me, I've taken a lot of value from doing things like this because I know that I literally can do anything. Like if someone asked me to do something, regardless of what I know, how difficult it'll be, how strong I am in the present moment, I know that I can learn the skills, I can gain the knowledge, I can gain the experience, I can do whatever I need to do to actually do that thing. Or on the contrary, in really dark times when I might be feeling depressed or I'm feeling certain negative emotions, I know that I can overcome that because I've done harder things that have challenged me mentally, even more so to an extent. So for anyone out there that actually wants to elevate your life in any area, this is the shit you need to be doing, because I can guarantee you the stronger your mind is, the stronger your life is. So the stronger all aspects of your life are going to be, regardless of whether it's health, relationships, business, whatever it is. Doing things like this will strengthen everything and take it to complete new levels. So if you're someone that wants to go from baseline to, baseline to going above average to striving to go above common standards and, actually achieve a better life for yourself, this is the shit you need to be doing. Yes, it's hard, but it's only 48 hours. Or if you go and run a marathon, it's only 4 hours. Or if you do the Jacob's Ladder thing, that was just one day. So, it's not actually like you have to do something for a whole year. It's literally a short period of time that teaches you that you can do things that you didn't actually think you could do. And that is by far the most empowering thing that you can do for yourself and your future, is to prove that to yourself. Because personally, I feel invincible. I know that like I said, I know I can do anything. If someone asks me to do something, it will get done. It might not be immediately, but it will get done absolutely and definitely. So that's a quote that I love. It's actually my wallpaper on my phone. So that's, for me, biggest thing is just strengthening your mind is one of the most valuable skills you can ever have.
I love that. And also, like David Goggins says as well, doing something to embrace the suck each day, like doing something that sucks. Like, because not all parts of life are like, woo, it's excitable. Sometimes things are just what have to be done and what get to be done, but they're not always the things that you want to be doing. So having those moments in your life where it's like, whether it's going for a run or whether it's doing a weight session, you might not want to do it, but thinking of the why behind the why behind you're doing it. And if it sucks, it's like, think of that as not only strengthening your body, but strengthening your breath, strengthening your mind. And
Definitely.
I think the mindset side of things are huge, but I love that that's your message to your viewers and your listeners. So I will let this wrap up so you can get all cozy up in your bed, and and to actually get that restorative sleep as well, because your body's going to be needing that moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the little chat and interview and everything.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's fun to actually talk about it I know we spoke about it directly after, but it's cool to kind of go through that post Hell Weekend process to see I guess your mental clarity now versus maybe being in it and forgetting a few things, or like, I literally don't know what I'm feeling or what just happened. And I guess over the next few days, like, it'll be awesome to see you on the weekend too, to check in with what other things might have come up for you, or what other thought processes that might have come through. So definitely be up for questioning you about that.
Yeah, no, that'll be good. I'm sure, we'll have an awesome chat in the weekend and probably come up with another business idea. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good fun.
It will be. All right. Have a great night. Get some awesome deep sleep. Get some REM sleep. Have some wicked visualizations and dreams happening up in here. And I shall see you when I'm looking at you.
You will. I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
See ya. You will. I'll see you.